little chaotic in the beginning, but since we are settling down, so I would appreciate that you will come on time. The class will start exactly at 3:30. So please remind yourself and your classmates or colleagues that to be punctual. And you may find that you are sitting in different areas, but still, everybody will be with your own group members, except that each team will sit in a different area of the classroom to ensure that everybody has an equal access to the teacher or to every part of the classroom. And on the blackboard, you can also see that the class was grouped into 5 continents. South America, North America, Asia, Europe, and Africa. But since we would like to focus on the developing countries, we did a little modification, not very much. So the South Africa will include the Central America, so it will become South and Central America. Asia, the group of Asia will focus on South Asia. And the Europe group will focus on Eastern Europe and CIS, Commonwealth of Independent States, which are the former USSR republics. And Africa, we will modify it into Sub-Saharan Africa. And the group of North America, we would like you to focus on Middle East and Northern Africa. Next, we encourage you to, in addition to your attendance, we would like everybody to speak up, to have active participation. So every time your active participation, like talking or dialogue with the teacher or interaction with your group members, will be noted and will be taken into account into the evaluation. So please try to have more interaction and participate more at class. And everybody can see that in front of you there is a name stand. And I have given each group a marker. So please write down your English name or foreign language name, which is readable by us, on the back of the stand. So this time we would like to see your Chinese name. In the next class, we would like to see the other name of yours. Okay? Thank you.
So class participation is very important, and it accounts for 40% of your grades. And I know you're not, getting some grades. It's good, so we encourage you to speak up. And we have this wireless microphone for you to be heard by other people. So every time you speak, the TA will hand you the wireless microphone. So this class we will be talking about the basic measures of health, how we measure how healthy a country or a region is. And before that, just like what we did last time, so the course will be, every time we'll have a 15 minutes, like checking in or warm up, and we'll break into groups and discuss the topic. For discussion for today is from a regional perspective, so from the region that you're from. If you were think about it, if you're a multi-billionaire, okay, if you're like a Bill Gates, and you wanted to save the world, and you want to pick a single health indicator that you want to improve the most if you want to save the world. And here are a number of possible choices, including life expectancy, how long people can live, child mortality, what is the proportion of child who will die, and maternal mortality, what is the proportion of mother who will die, or anything like any major diseases, the proportion of people who will die of major diseases like HIV or like tuberculosis or like cancer. So I want you to break out into groups and discuss about the reason why you want to choose this versus the other indicator and the reason. Okay, so you can think about, whether based on the importance of the indicator or based on the how practical that indicator is, how possible it is to change that indicator. Okay. So I suggest that we do it by group, and if within the big group it's not very easy to discuss, you can also start by smaller groups of 4 to 5 people, and then sort of gradually merge. You can stay here, or if you think it's more comfortable to go outside, you can also go outside. Just find a place for the whole region, for the whole group. Okay.
And we came to the conclusion that due to the region we chose, which is South and Central America, we believe that life expectancy is the factor that we should raise more, because comparing to South and Central American countries, one of the main reasons that there are high mortality rates are because of murder rates, not diseases, or HIV, which are the other choices we had. And maternal mortality isn't like something of a bigger deal than the rest of the other choices. So since life expectancy is something very general, which you can include like diseases, murders, and several other factors, I think it's a good choice. I agree. And he agrees, which is a good perspective from somebody that does not belong to those countries.
Okay. Group 2, Middle East and Northern Africa. Are you aware of which group you're in? Where is group 2?
Here.
Okay. Your name, please.
My name is Sean. I'm from Caribbean. Group 2, we're discussing the Middle East and North Africa. Originally, we discussed like generally like what we think should be improved, and our group had different opinions, but generally, in my opinion, my group's opinion, we think that life expectancy should be increased. And why? It's because it's not that the others are not important, but in terms of priority, we think that when you first increase life expectancy, then you have the opportunity to increase the others in terms of what needs to be done. For example, in Middle East and North Africa, we think that right now the life expectancy is not too high because they are developing countries. So it's important that we first increase the life expectancy, then, because they can contribute this group of people between 15 and 45. They can contribute to the country's development, and after you've increased the development, the economy, then probably you can focus on child mortality and the others as necessary.
Okay, one question. Because life expectancy is a very general term, do you think it's easy to target? You know, if you want to do something.
I guess it depends on the country's ability to access resources. In a developing country, it might be, I guess it's not as easy to tackle, but I guess it's not as easy as it looks on the surface, because I guess that's the whole Millennium Development Plan. You know, try to get to tackle this problem.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, group 3, South Asia. My group. Okay, tell us your name first.
So we were thinking from the perspective of South Asia, and one of the biggest countries there is India. So we didn't actually know what the problems in India were. We did a quick search on the internet, and yeah, all the answers on the internet, right? But it turns out that child mortality is a big problem there. Like, we considered some of the other options, but it seems logical that if you improve child mortality, a lot of the other issues mentioned will get solved as well. Like, I mean, it's kind of idealistic to think that you can improve that so easily. But if you improve child mortality, you solve like malnutrition, water sanitation in India is a really big problem. What else? Yeah, so like life expectancy improves. Well, I'm not sure about HIV, but
and another reason why we chose child mortality is that children are the next generation, and they can grow up to be educated to improve the environment in their own countries. So we think that child mortality is a good place to start.
Okay, thank you. So they talk about one interesting thing is that if you improve child mortality, you could also improve life expectancy. So these are not independent indicators. We'll talk about that a lot more very soon. Okay, Eastern Europe and CIS. Coming up along. No friend? Somebody needs to come out to support him. Okay, your name and you need to be connected to. They're video recording it.
We just connect the internet to find the answer. And I think in Eastern Europe and CIS, maternal mortality is a big issue there. So, because they don't have enough medical service there to improve their birth giving process. So I think from the information from internet, so we can conclude that maternal mortality is our choice.
I come from mainland China, so I'm maybe more familiar with Eastern Europe because China was one member of the Union of Eastern Europe. I think Eastern Europe has a very special place because for them, the life expectancy and the child mortality and HIV percentage are not a large problem because although they are not as developed as Western Europe, this still has a very developed economic foundation, and you know that they have a very advanced medical service. Their problems are the birth rate of population, because you know Eastern Europe are very cold, so their babies they will not give birth to so much babies, so their population are always decreasing. As I come from mainland China, China are carrying out a plan called family plan, which are a population control plan. So, according to my population knowledge, the most important thing to control population is women. Yes, according to this knowledge, if you have more women, you will have more babies. Yes, then, so we are focused on the maternal mortality. When if you have a higher mother mortality, there will be more women, and if you have more women, and more women will give birth to more babies. So their population will be increasing and return to a balanced rate. So I think the most important thing is maternal mortality.
So you want to control women, huh?
Yeah.
Not good. Thank you. Last group, sub-Saharan Africa?
Is life expectancy, because once we improve life expectancy, we'll obviously be improving child mortality, maternal mortality, and we think that we can do this by educating people, so education is our main factor. And we want to approach the fact that if we educate people on health issues and also on how to use their natural resources wisely and to their benefit, we will be able to, accomplish the rest.
Also, hi, I'm Erica. Also, as we are in the sub-Saharan Africa, we realize that there's a huge HIV issue, and even though that there's not a secure cure for it, we thought that, as we said, education, we could really help the local people realize ways of how to prevent it. Think smarter with the education that we said we would implant into the area. That way, it would just eventually increase everything and help the country become a better, secure area.
Great, thank you. Wow, I think it's really great. You pretty much said what I wanted to say today. So class dismissed, okay? No. So I think you touched a couple important issues of these different indicators, and in the next 2 hours we'll spend most of our time talking about these key indicators in population health or global health. So there are life expectancy, infant mortality rate, neonatal mortality rate, under 5 child mortality rate, and maternal mortality ratio. So I hope by the end of the class you'll have some basic understanding of these different terms, and you'll be able to communicate with other global health workers, okay? So the foundation of all these is in fact life expectancy. And I'm now giving the formal definition of life expectancy here. So the formal definition of life expectancy is how long you can live, on average. The average number of years of life at a given age in a population, if the current mortality experience were to continue. So remember, there's a very important term called at a given age. Different people, different people with different age, they have different life expectancy. You guys are 20 years old, your life expectancy is going to be longer than my life expectancy, because you're going to live longer. Maybe you can live for another 60 years, maybe I can only live for another, who knows. So the key is that the life expectancy varies by age, and you have to be specific when you talk about life expectancy. And in general, what you see, the generally quoted indicator, life expectancy, means life expectancy at birth. So how long a newborn baby is going to live. Not how long you are going to live, or not how long I'm going to live. The newborn baby. Okay? So to show you, to sort of give a sense of what life expectancy really is, I'm going to use some of the slides from this very interesting website called GetMinder. Has anybody ever heard of this website? No? Okay. It's founded by a very interesting researcher, Hans Rosling. He's a global health professor from Sweden, and you're going to know him a lot more very soon. Okay, so this is a bubble plot, okay, showing the relationship between life expectancy and income. And this whole visualization was created by Hans Rosling. So here we're dividing the world based on the region. You can see there are different colors of it. And the size of the bubble is proportional to the population size. So anybody want to guess this big red bubble here?
China.
And this blue bubble? South Asia? South Asia? India, right? Okay, so, and these are their life expectancies. There seems to be a relationship between income per person and life expectancy. So if you earn more, you're going to live longer. So make sure you make enough money. Now we're comparing two different countries. The first is called Burundi. It's a country in Middle Africa, which has a life expectancy at birth of 50 years. And the second is Sweden. Also a small country. You can see the very small bubble, but having a life expectancy of 81 years. So here's Burundi, somewhere close to the Lake Victoria. So the life expectancy at birth in Burundi is 50 years. Now I want you to think about, what does that mean? Does that mean that we're not going to see, or rarely see elderly people in Burundi? Or does that mean that we're still going to see a bunch of elderly people in Burundi? The answer is 1. We rarely see elderly people in Burundi. Okay. No, the answer is 2. I'm going to show you very soon. So, what does life expectancy mean? The life expectancy means that the expected life of a newborn baby. So let's now take an example of 5 newborn Burundian babies. Okay? So here's Burundian. Now we have 5 newborn baby: Pierre, Liz, June, Anne, and Sarah. Let's follow through their life course and see what happened to them in Burundi. Okay? So Pierre is very unlucky. He lived up to 1 year old, and he died of some infection of his lung called pneumonia. So pneumonia is infection of the lung, and he died. Okay, so rest in peace. And Liz is a bit more lucky. She got AIDS, HIV/AIDS, at the age of maybe 30 and died 6 years later. And Jean lived up to 57, but died of a car accident, a traffic accident. And Anne lived up to 72 and died of stroke. Sarah lived up to 84 and died of cancer. So what is the life expectancy of these 5 kids? You know, one lived up to childhood, and 1 to adulthood, and the other 2 up to elderhood. So 2 out of 5 actually get old in Burundi. So it's not that impossible to see elderly people in Burundi. But if you take the average, so average is a mean. Anyone from the math department? Okay, let me know if I do something wrong. Okay, I just add up all these 5 different numbers. I divide it by 5. Hopefully I get it right. It's 50. Okay, question? So having a life expectancy of 50 doesn't mean that all the people are going to die before 60 or before 50. It's just an average. So this is what life expectancy is. Okay, tricky question. What about the life expectancy at the age 30 in Burundi? Okay, if you already lived up to 30, what do you think will be the, life expectancy? Is it going to be 50 as the other Burundians, or between 20 to 50? 20, less than 20? So some say 50. 50 is too good. 20 may be too bad. Actually, for those who have lived up to 30, it means that they have passed the initial hurdle, the initial risk of dying, from childhood diseases. So on average, they'll be the age that they die will be greater than 50. So the life expectancy of those at age 30 will be greater than 20, but definitely less than 50. Question? All right, so now we just saw that the life expectancy at birth in Sweden is 81 years. And do you think that most Swedes live 31 years longer than Burundians? It's related to our first question. No? Why? Why? Anybody?
Because even if the life expectancy is longer, that doesn't mean. Oh, okay.
Your name?
I'm Lipo Chin. Yeah, I'm Lipo Chin, and the reason I choose 2 is because even if the life expectancy is longer, but the okay.
Yes.
Even if the life expectancy is longer, that doesn't mean they will live exactly more. They will have a more 31 years up than Burundi.
It's just an average. Okay. Good, thank you. So let's see what's actually happening with those Swedish people. Here we have 5 Swedish people: Per, Lisa, Jen, Anton, and Sarah. So Per lived up to 63, committed suicide because of depression, and life is too smooth. And Lisa lived up to 77, died of stroke. Jen lived up to 84, died of heart attack. And Anton lived up to 88 and died of cancer of the prostate. Sarah lived up to 93 and got dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and died at 93. So their mean is 81. Okay. Now let's compare these 2 countries and these 5 pairs of persons. You'll see a very interesting phenomenon that living long, in these 2 countries is not that different. Okay, so these 2 pairs of people, they all live long, and there's some slight differences, but not that different. But dying at a young age means a very different thing in these 2 countries. So dying very young in Sweden means that you're dying at the age of 60 or 65 because their life expectancy is 81. But dying young in Burundi is like 1 year old or 5 year old. And that huge difference accounts for most of the gap of the 2 different life expectancies. Okay, so up to here, you should get a sense that child mortality actually matters a lot, especially when you measure life expectancy. Okay, because now in the world we still have many countries with unacceptably high child mortality rates. So there are 3 related measures of child mortality based on different milestones of life for newborn babies. So the first one is neonatal mortality rate. So by definition, neonatal means that those who are younger than 28 days, like the initial first month of life. And we have infant mortality rate, which means that, so infant is any time before the first birthday. We call it baby infant. And then we have under 5 mortality rate, which means up to 5 years old. As children grow up, they become more nasty. So, what's the situation in Burundi look like? Let me give you some real number in Burundi in 2010. So the neonatal mortality rate, for those less than 1 month old, the mortality rate is 42 out of 1,000 live births. So this kind of rate is generally measured as every 1,000 people, every 1,000 babies, newborn babies. So 42 out of 1,000 about 1 out of 25. 1 out of 25 babies will die before their first month. And about 1 out of 11 or 12 baby will die before they reach the first year of birthday. And then 1 out of 7 kids will die before they reach 5 years old. Do you see any pattern here in these numbers? We have 42 in the first month, 88 in the first year, and 142. Anything strange going on? Go ahead. Yes, but the difference in age is more than twice, right? Every stage is like, so it's growing. It's growing because the infant mortality rate includes the neonatal mortality rate because it's including the initial 12 months. So the first month was included. But good. Any other observation? Is that a linear? Is that a proportional thing, or is there any particular age that they're more prone, they're more likely to die?
We may come to a conclusion that in the first months of the life, they are most dangerous in their lifetime. So
Okay.
if we can just deal with the problem about a newborn baby in the neonatal period, we may have some benefit about the child mortality problem.
Your name?
Wang.
Very good, great. So, in fact, the neonatal mortality rate accounts for more than about half of the infant mortality rate. So 50% of those die before 1 year old. They die within their first month. And about 1/3 of them, of the under 5 mortality rate, comes from this, initial first month. So there's a reason that Chinese people celebrate do you know Chinese people celebrate their first month of birth? It's called 满月, right? Yeah. So ancient Chinese people know about public health. They know that they passed the initial month hurdle. Then if they pass it, it's more likely that they'll grow up into adulthood. So let's just very quickly look at the distribution of neonatal mortality rate. So those in the very dark color are those with a mortality rate of more than 45 per thousand. So like 1 out of 20 will die, within the month. So, from a regional perspective, these are Pakistan, Afghanistan, Ethiopia, Somalia, a lot of Sub-Saharan countries, and there's some, in the middle, Central and Middle America. So, remember we talked about the MDG, the Millennium Development Goals in the first class. Remember the MDG, there are 8 goals that the United Nations wants to achieve by 2015. And reducing child mortality is one major goal among these 8 goals. Okay, so they actually set up a target that they wanted to reduce by 2/3, before 2015. They want to reduce 66% of the child mortality rate compared to the baseline value in 1990. Okay, and they have some indicators such as under 5 mortality rate or infant mortality rate. Okay, and now you're familiar with that. And how are we doing in terms of the global progress of reducing child mortality? So these blue dots are the observed pattern of the under 5 mortality rates. So they've been declining. Okay, but where is our target? Our target is here, this dashed line. If you draw a line from these dots and assume that the trend will continue up until 2015, then do you think we're gonna reach this target? No, okay, we're far from that. So this decline needs to happen a lot faster. Okay, and what's even worse is that if you see this neonatal mortality, so this bar is the neonatal mortality. The decline in neonatal mortality hasn't been as dramatic as the decline in under 5 mortality. In fact, just the neonatal mortality itself is above our target for the whole under 5 mortality. Okay, so if we're not dealing with these neonatal mortality, we will never achieve this under 5 mortality targets. So people have to thinking about how to decrease the neonatal mortality rate. Before that, we need to know the causes. What are the causes of death for these neonatal babies? Anybody want to guess why these infants, why these neonates, these newborn babies are particularly prone to die? What are they dying from? Lack of what? Nutrition. Okay. Good. Anything?
Their immune systems are not very
Is it like, you mean infection? Okay. Immune is not good, so infection.
Lack of proper healthcare.
Healthcare to
those, how do you say, less than 1 year, less than
1 month, neonates, babies.
Because they need, because some region lack the proper resources to care up its baby.
Okay. So that if they don't have the access, they'll die of diseases. Okay.
The environment they live are not very good for people to live.
The environment is not very good for
them to live.
Because it's too
cold or too hot.
Okay, because these newborn babies, they do not adjust to the environment. Okay, they're very vulnerable if the environment is very harsh. Anything else?
And also consider the mother, because maybe the mother will have some disease that will affect her.
Great. So because we're talking about the things that happen right after childbirth, so we need to also think about the mother. Okay, so let me just show you what are the causes of neonatal death among these babies. In fact, most of them are related to childbirth. Okay, it's not just about the baby; it's also about childbirth. So the majority is more than 1/3 of them die of infection. Okay, and because of their poor immunity, and also because of the poor hygiene during the childbirth process. In the childbirth, you need to be follow some sterilizing procedure in order to prevent these newborn babies from being infected. In a rural place where there's lack of access to sterilizing, practice, they might get infection during the childbirth and they will die. And also preterm death, if they are not mature enough, if they are born before 40 weeks of gestation, they are less likely to thrive through the environment. And also this asphyxia means the lack of oxygen during the birth process. So So actually childbirth is a very risky, dangerous process. If anything goes wrong with the childbirth process, the little baby might not breathe and his heart might not beat. Then you'll need to do what? You need to do CPR. Okay. Then there needs to be a person who can do CPR to rescue these babies. If they don't do CPR, they'll die of asphyxia, lack of oxygen. So, in response to this, mainly infectious disease is the main cause of this death. People have been thinking about, what can we do if we do not have access to a proper health care? So the fact is, in the world, around 60 million pregnant women, they do not have access to a good, well-trained healthcare worker to help them deliver their babies. So most of these childbirths happen at home and without a proper delivery, kit. So there's an NGO called PATH. They've been thinking about, if we right now, if we cannot improve their access to good health care, why don't we try to provide them with something that they can use by themselves? So they come up with this interesting idea of clean delivery kits. So something they can use to help reduce the risk of infection, even by themselves. So here's this example of this clean delivery kit. A very simple package of a number of essential things for childbirth. Do you want to imagine what's inside this kit? Anybody know? Does anybody know how to deliver a kit? I thought you're top students from the top university. You should know everything.
I'm guessing maybe sterilized blankets, sterilized maybe scissors to cut the umbilical cord.
Great, that's right. Yeah. So sterilized razor blade to cut the cord. What's that?
Gloves.
Gloves. Okay. Gloves is too expensive. Anything easier? Just soap, hand soap. So a small bar of soap. So they contain a small bar of soap for hand washing before delivery, and the razor bar, and a clean plastic sheet. Just a plastic sheet. For what? For the baby. For you to lay the baby. Okay. And there's also, if you can see this, clean string. Why do we need a string? We use a string to tie the cord, to prevent the blood coming out from the cord. So just 4 things, okay? Hand soap, clean plastic sheet, a string to tie the cord, and a razor blade to cut the cord. With these 4 things, they think they can, substantially reduce this child mortality rate. And also some kind of instruction for the women to know how to use it. But most of the time, the instruction cannot be written in words because remember, many women in this rural area they're illiterate. So you need some kind of pictorial illustration to tell them how to do it. Question: do you think they can work? So, do you think to what extent can the use of clean delivery kits will reduce neonatal mortality rate? 10%, 30%, 50%, or even more? Well, we'll have a tie here, 30 and 50%. So in fact, there's an article that just published last week in one of the best medical journals in the world. It's called PLOS Medicine. So in this issue of PLOS Medicine, people actually reported the results of the use of clean delivery kits, and they found that the use of the kits was associated with almost 50% reduction in neonatal mortality rates in several South Asia countries, including India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Okay, just as easy as this simple kit can prevent half of the kids' death. What about the cost? Any guess? Less than $1. Well, I'm not reading. I don't have it here. It's about 27 cents in Bangladesh and 40% in India, so less than 50 cents. Okay, so this kind of intervention is considered to be highly cost-effective. So with a very small amount of money, you can save a lot of lives. So that's one thing. Let's go back to the discussion question. When you want a target to reach, you need to think about how possible you can reach the target. Life expectancy is good, but how to reduce it? What kind of resource you need to reduce life expectancy? I mean, you need to spend a lot of money on it. But for this neonatal mortality rate, you can just with this less than 50 cents kits reduce a lot of infant mortality, neonatal and infant mortality rates. Questions? Shall we go for it? Is that the end of the story? Why?
Because there's still other 50%.
Good, we need to work on that. But before that, we can first try to remove the first 50%. You think it's sustainable or not?
Not really. Like, it requires constant resources from somewhere else. It's usually not those countries themselves that can provide those resources.
You think this kit cannot be made by
It's
themselves?
kind of a temporary solution, I think, but overall, I'm not sure.
Okay. I think it's good to think about the term of sustainability. It's important. And actually, they're training people to make these kits at home. So they're trying to, train them to do it by themselves, not by, foreign aid.
I feel like everything is sanitized inside the bag, but then once you take it out, you're dealing with conditions that are much different than inside.
Very good. Good point. So what you're seeing here, the 50% mortality reduction is in a study setting, in a clinical trial setting, that people are following the standard practice and doing this right thing. But what is it going to look like in the real life practice? We're not sure. So we need to test that again in the real life setting to see if the 50% is still 50% or reduced to 30 or 20%. So in brief, more studies will need to be done to follow how these kits is actually working in the field. But still, I think it's a very promising tool and a good start to tackle with neonatal mortality. Okay, so I think it's late. Let's take a 10-minute break. So it's important that we keep track of this number. And the definition of maternal mortality ratio is the number of women, and because it's somewhat less common compared to infant and child death. The measurement is 100,000 live births. So it's not like 1 out of 1,000, it's 1 out of 100,000. And here's again the bubble plot showing that maternal mortality ratio is again strongly related to GDP per capita. So here we have on the top of the graph countries from sub-Saharan African having a maternal mortality ratio of about 1,000 per 100,000, so it's like 1%. So 1% of the mother will die because of this childbirth activity. So if I were a woman there, I wouldn't give birth. 1% is too high. And what about the related Millennium Development Goals? So also because this is a very important target. So they have a specific target for MDG. So which is we want to reduce by 2015 75% of the maternal mortality ratio. And how are we doing? This first bar, so this is Sub-Saharan Africa, which has the highest maternal mortality ratio. The first bar is where we were in 1990, so the baseline. And the second bar is where we were in 2008. Okay, and our goal, our target in 2015 is here. Okay, so we're very behind. Okay, in the next 7 years, we need to make this happen. Okay, but this is not like what we just talk about, the neonatal mortality, because using this simple kit is going to reduce probably the mortality of neonates, but not going to help much for the women, because most of the emergency condition associated with childbirth for women needs to be done with a well-trained personnel. So it's now go back to the issue of access, the access to health care, especially for those in a very rural area. How can they, receive this proper medical management when some emergent obstetric, childbirth condition happens? Okay, so this is it about the measures. So we have gone through life expectancy, the 3 different measures of child mortality, and the maternal mortality ratio. These are the most commonly used indicators of health. Any question? If not, go ahead.
I would like to know what are what are the factors that are involved when during birth, while the mother is giving birth to a child, how can she die? What are the factors?
Right. Why is she dying from childbirth, right? Yeah. Okay. So there are a couple of things she can die. The first of it is massive bleeding, blood loss, because childbirth is a dangerous thing. Sometimes the blood loss will stop spontaneously, but sometimes the placenta, the thing that connects the baby and the mother, the placenta, some part of the placenta remain inside the uterus. So it's an emergent condition. Sometimes the surgeon even needs to remove the uterus of the mother in order to save life. And also stroke mother, because the fluid of the baby, amniotic fluid of the baby, can go into the mother's blood, and it can cause stroke. It can cause blood clots. And also infection, right before and after childbirth, the infection can also affect the mother and also causing death. Yeah, so there are a number of it. Okay.